Hi, listeners. Welcome back to the Calsoft podcast series. I'm your host, Vaishnavi Kulkarni, Marketing Manager at Calsoft. Testing has become an integral part of the development and release process. Continuous performance testing has an important role to play to improve the overall quality of software. Our today's expert speaker, Mr. Manoj Pathak, who is joining us for the first time, will help us understand the performance testing better. Hi, Manoj.
Hey, hi Vaishnavi.
So, Manoj is a test architect with 13 years of experience in developing complex and scalable testing frameworks that helps improving product quality and efficiency. His area of expertise includes Python and Java automation and performance testing for APIs and user interfaces. Without any further ado, let's get started. So, Manoj, to start with, can you explain us what microservices are and why they are important for modern software development processes?
Yep. So microservices is not just a buzzword. I mean, they are game changer for software development, I would say. Microservices are an architectural and organizational approach to software development. Such software is composed of small independent services that communicate over well-defined APIs. So it enables you to develop, deploy, operate, scale each service independently without affecting the functioning of other services. So imagine you could build a software application that are faster, more reliable, more scalable, and more
Hmm.
innovative than before. So it sounds too good to be true, right? So yeah. Uh, So managing the performances of microservices can be challenging actually. So that's the area of discussion.
Okay, so I think we would really like our listeners would like to understand what are the most common challenges that developers are facing today to manage the performance of microservices. Can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, as I said, it could be challenging. So there could these could be difficult to design, test, and monitor. So let's
Okay.
consider the first one, designing. So designing a
Mhm.
decoupled non-transactional system as compared to the old style monolith is difficult. It
Mm.
requires careful domain modeling, clear boundaries, interfaces between the services. It can be hard to avoid tight coupling and ensure data consistency and availability across the services. And so second, we can consider about testing. So testing microservices is more complex than testing monolithic applications because
Mhm.
microservices need to be tested individually and with different levels of granularity and scope. So this could also involve simulating dependencies, network failures, and service interactions.
Mm.
And another one could be monitoring. So monitoring and debugging microservices can be challenging due to the increased moving parts that it has and the potential error cases. So it needs to implement logging, tracing, metric collection mechanisms to provide visibility into its behavior and performance. They also need to handle failures gracefully and provide
Mm.
fallback options.
This actually suggests that microservices is a very complex system. I wonder how do we do performance testing of microservices? Can you share some insights on that?
Yeah. So there are multiple parameters on which we can gauge the performance of microservices. So
Okay.
broadly, we can let's categorize into two parts. So first
Okay.
one is usually infrastructure area, and the second one is the API metric.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
So common infrastructure metrics can be CPU, memory, and uptime. So CPU usage, as all we all know, so CPU usage is one of the most classic performance metric that can be
Mhm.
proxy for the application responsiveness. When you debug APIs locally, you can easily see the system and process CPU usage via task manager. So that's the straightforward one. The second
Mm.
one is memory usage, similar to that. So memory usage is also good proxy for measuring resource utilization as CPU and memory capacity are physical resources, unlike a metric which may be more configuration dependent. A VM with extremely low memory usage can either be downsized or have additional services allocated to that VM to consume additional memory. On the flip
Okay.
side, high memory usage can be indicator of servers are being overloaded. And the third one in case of infrastructure could be uptime. So While one of the most basic metrics, uptime or availability of it is the gold standard for measuring
Mm.
performance of a service or availability of service. So many enterprises agreements include SLA, service level agreement, and uptime is usually rolled into that. So you can think of, I mean, it is very important
Mm.
parameter. So yeah, these were the things that we discussed from infrastructure perspective. So
Okay.
what we can think about, I mean, these parameters are quite common for old monolithic applications as well. The other aspect that is more specific to microservices are API metrics. So let's categorize them into three parts. I would say response time, request per minute, and errors per minute. Okay, so
Okay.
if we consider first one, response time. So one of the most important metric to track customer experience is API latency or elapsed time. While an increase in infrastructure level metrics can, like CPU usage, may not actually correspond to drop in user perceived responsiveness, API latency will. So tracking
Mm.
latency by itself may not be fully, I mean, it may not fully explain why an increase occurred, because problematic slow endpoints may be hidden when looking only at aggregate latency. So it is critical to look at the breakdowns of latency by route, geography, and other fields of that segment. The second one is request per minute. So RPM is a performance metric often used when comparing to HTTP or database servers. Usually, your end-to-end RPM will much more lower than advertised RPM, which
Okay.
serve more as an upper bound for a simple Hello World API.
Mm.
So since a server will not consider latency incurred for IO operations to databases, third-party services, etc. Okay. While some like to brag about their high RPM, and engineering team's goal should be efficiency and attempt to drive this down.
Mm.
And the last one could be errors per minute. So like RPM error per minute is nothing but the number of API calls with non 200 family status codes per minute. This is critical measurement for identifying how buggy or error prone the API is. To track error per minute, it's important to understand what type of error are happening, so you can categorize and target to reduce it.
Wow, Manoj, I think that was really insightful. So, what typically tools are being used in the industry right now for doing performance testing for microservices? Can you share something about that?
Yeah, there are variety of tools that are available. So I would suggest one in each category kind of. So let's start with the widely used tool, that is JMeter. So
Okay.
this is most famous amongst the performance tester community. So first of all, JMeter is an open source testing software, and it has wide online community support available. And it is 100% pure Java application for load and performance testing. And JMeter is designed to analyze major performance and load functional behavior of web applications and variety of other services. So JMeter is mainly used for testing web applications or FTP applications. So we discussed about Java based tools. So second, let's go for Python based. So
Mm-hmm.
Locust is the Python based tool. So you define the behavior of your users in regular Python code instead of being stuck in UI or restrictive domain specific language. Okay, so it is a generic thing. The target of Locust is load testing website and checking the number of concurrent users in the system can handle. And
Mm.
during
Okay.
locust test, basically you swarm the swarm of locust will attack the target. That's the website, and the behavior of each locust is configurable, and the swarming process is monitored from web UI in real time. Okay,
Okay.
so after popular Java and Python based, the third one is JavaScript based. So that is a K6, which is taken over by Grafana. So Grafana K6 is open source again, and it is a load testing tool that makes performance testing very easy. So K6 is open source, and to start, you just have to install K6 on your system and or add that plugin into the IDE, and that's all. You are ready to test. So you can define virtual users API URLs in JavaScript itself for the testing. And the last one on the block I would suggest would be the Postman. So yeah, I mean
Okay.
Postman is usually used for just API testing, but recently Postman has launched Postman Canary. So
Okay.
it's in beta right now. So eh, available only for registered and limited users, but you can try it out. So we all know Postman is the first choice for many functional API testers. So this tool provides
Okay.
them add I mean provides them the add-on to what they are doing right now with the non-functional testing suite as well to the existing suites. So yeah, these are the tools I would suggest in each category kind of.
So, which one is favorite of yours amongst these four?
So yeah, as everyone's JMeter is my favorite. But yeah,
Okay.
I have been trying K6 Grafana recently, and it is amazing. I mean, it provides amazing UI as well from Grafana, so that it is easy to track and use as well. So yeah.
Great. Okay. So I know that like we have been working on many microservices centric projects at Calsoft. Uh, what exactly we are doing when we want to test those applications?
Yeah, there are many projects that are running in Calsoft which have microservices, or we can say microservices centric. In traditional testing practices, priority was always given to functional. So at Calsoft,
Mhm.
the non-functional testing is of equal importance as much as the functional testing. So there are many specialized group of engineers working with various teams to provide identify scenarios for performance testing. Such groups help to inculcate the performance testing practices in their day-to-day testing. And we
Okay.
also conduct tech talks, training sessions for new joiners, interns, or the people who are new to performance testing areas. So they can try and implement these things into their specific areas as well.
Great. I think that must be really helpful for new joiners at least to understand the process and approach with which Calsoft does testing. Uh, so I think we don't have a lot of time. I really want you to summarize the highlights and takeaways for our audience, and also if you can share some tips that they can implement in their performance testing on microservices.
Okay. Yes. We can summarize it as we discussed. One can start with identifying the tech stack expertise available with the testing teams. You can select a performance testing tool according to that. Then focus on both infra and API metrics, such as
Mhm.
CPU, memory, uptime from infra side, and API metrics, so latency, RPM, and errors per minute from API side. And first benchmark all metrics as per requirement. Then gather this data recurrently using the standard set of tests with available build, and finally make sure that performance indicators are consistent with the requirement. So that is the process that we can follow kind of.
Okay, well, I think Manoj, that's all the time we have for today. I would really like to thank you for sharing your valuable time, expertise, and knowledge on performance testing. Your contribution has undoubtedly broadened my understanding of the topic, and I'm sure of our audiences as well. I hope to see you soon again on Calsoft Podcast. So, this has been Calsoft Podcast featuring Manoj Pathak. Stay tuned for future podcasts where we explore the latest tech concepts and advancements in the field. You can reach out to us at marketing@calsoftinc.com for any queries. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.